Hello everyone and welcome back. So, you already know I'm running into the issues of dumpsters just not being very fruitful. So, we're going into some other stuff. How else can you be frugal? Of course, one of the big things. You can't let food go to waste. Especially food that you grow. Can't let it go to waste. Otherwise, why'd you put all that time and energy into it? So today we are going to be canning salsa. We've got a ton of tomatoes. Ton of tomatoes. You can see my son behind me now. Now you see his back. See all those tomatoes sitting there already. All those tomatoes. Some of these were given to me from a friend who has a farm. So instead of them going to waste, she gave them to me so I could can them up. So I'll go through the steps and tell you how to can some amazing, relatively easy water bath tomato salsa. Literally drawing a blank, sorry. But this is another way you can be frugal. Even if you find this stuff in the dumpster, if it's usable, you can always can it. Let's dive in. This right here is kind of a boring step. Not a step that I need to have recorded for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And it's going to take some time to do this step. But step one is blanching the tomatoes, which is what you see Troy doing here. You have to cut an X into the non-cooked tomatoes, and then you'll put them into boiling water for about usually 15 to 30 seconds. You don't want to cook them too long, but long enough for that skin to peel off. You'll know when it's long enough because you'll see the skin peel backwards, and then it's time to take it out and instantly submerge it into an ice bath. That way the cooking stops. Like I said, we got a lot here to blanch. 2 whole boxes. Lots of tomatoes. So Troy's my big helper today. This is kind of like homeschool. This is teaching them something they would never learn in school. But step one, blanch the tomatoes. Just an X. You're just putting an X into the skin. And then you boil it. And then ice bathe it. I'll come back when we get to the next step. So now you drop the tomatoes into the boiling water. Like I said, that's only going to be about 15 to 35 seconds typically before the skin starts peeling back. Sometimes can take about 60 seconds. Letting Troy help again, so he's using a spoon so he doesn't burn his hand.
I did it!
But you put them in and you let them boil for typically about 15 seconds. So you can tell it's ready to go into the ice water when you see the skin peeling back like that. Then you put in the ice water so that way it can instantly cool down and not continue cooking. Just to show how easy these peel. After they get cooked and ice bathed, they just peel right off. No work at all. Now we need 7 cups of strained tomatoes for the batch that we're making. So I'm going to take off the top. And then, no. And then you got to core it. So you want to get that core out. And then this goes into the chopper. So once you get all the tomatoes done, you need, like I said, the 7 cups for a batch. You need a 1.5 cups of onions diced up. So you need a 1.5 cups for a batch. I'm doing a double batch, so I'm gonna have 3 cups of onions. This is a recipe that has been done in the water bath canning. You want to make sure you have the right acidity so that it preserves properly in water bath. If you do it, change this up so you guys can see me. If you do it in a pressure canner, that can actually be done a little bit differently. You don't have to worry so much about the acidity. But when you're doing water bath canning, you have to worry about the acidity. So this is a tried and true water bath canning method where so many cups of each thing. If you're doing it in the pressure canner, you could probably play around with it a little bit, and you also wouldn't have to add the lemon juice that this is going to have to add acidity. Normally when you can tomatoes, you don't need lemon juice or lime juice for acidity because tomatoes are naturally acidic. But with the different soil types, tomatoes are gradually getting less acidic over time. So you don't always have the guarantee that they're acidic enough. So that's why you add that lemon juice just in case. You don't want to take the risk that you don't have enough acidity and now it's not safe. So we add the lemon juice just to be on the safe side. But you're going to dice up these onions and then we move on to the next step. I'll come back when we get to that. You don't want to watch us dice everything, do you? Now you would do 2 cups of pepper of choice. So if you don't want a very hot salsa, you could do like some banana peppers or green peppers. I usually do jalapenos, and then sometimes I'll add habaneros as well in there to make it even hotter. That'll be my hot batch. So since I'm doing a double batch, again, it's going to be 4 cups, not 2 cups, and double batch. So I need 4 cups for me of the jalapenos and 6 cloves of garlic. For you, if you're doing a single batch, it would be 2 cups of jalapenos or whatever pepper of choice and 3 cloves of garlic. So we're going to get to that. Next, we will have cilantro to taste. I did bad this year. My herbs died when we went on vacation, so I guess I didn't do bad. But I did bad because I don't have any fresh grown cilantro because of it. Trying to transition into our fall crops and trying to find seeds because we ran out of some and I forgot to replace them and all that fun stuff. Yes, I use the stem and all. 2 teaspoons of canning salt. You could technically use kosher salt too. So now you need the 3/4 a cup of lemon juice. This you will not taste. It's just a necessity for the acidity, like I said. You won't notice it being in there though. So once you've got everything added in, you heat the salsa for about 10 minutes before you start canning it. You take your clean, sterilized jars. Once you're done, you put it into the can. Make sure you're leaving a 1/2 inch of headspace, which means just a 1/2 inch from the top of the salsa to the top of the jar. Make sure the lip is clean before you put the lid on, so that way it seals, and then it will go into the water bath for about 15 minutes once it's boiling. Make sure the water covers the top of the jar though. And then you let it sit for 24 hours and make sure the seal doesn't pop. We'll bring you back when we get closer to that. So you're done canning. Look at that beautiful salsa. And you need to make sure that they are good, that you don't need to fix anything after the water bath. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that ring off. You do not want to store these with the ring on them because too much pressure on this seal could cause that seal to pop prematurely. And you don't want anything popping prematurely. So you're going to take that ring off, check and make sure there's usually a bubble at the top of these lids when you first put them on. And when you press down, if you hear it clinking at all, moving, if it moves, it didn't seal. That would be the first sign it didn't seal. But then after that, all you're going to do is you're going to just basically take and you're going to kind of lightly lift, pull a little bit on the seal around the lid and make sure that lid doesn't come off. If there's any give, if it comes off, if it has a little bit of airflow going through it, then it needs to go back into the canner. It would go back into the canner for the one more time. You have 24 hours basically to fix that. So you would go back in, give it another shot, otherwise put it in the fridge and use it. So the salsas came out good. So that's awesome. I will be taking a permanent marker and writing a date up here along with what it is. These are a one-time use lids, so it's not a big deal that you're writing a permanent marker, but you want to keep track of when you canned it as well as what you're canning. Typically, you want to use this stuff within a year. It still usually can stay good on the shelf for longer than a year, but a year is usually your goal. So, those are done. Hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you learned something. Stay positive and love each other. We'll catch you on the next one.